latest on his condition at this hour and what prompted that shooting.
And just breaking overnight as well, Russia responds, taking aim at the U.S. after the Obama administration issues a series of sanctions for alleged election interference. So was the president's play just another shot at Donald Trump? We're live in Washington with the latest breaking details.
And in the good old days, you used to have wine, and you used to have to wine and dine him to win a lady's heart. But now, not only is chivalry dead, but so is the dinner date. Did you guys hear that? But you know what? We're actually having dinner all morning here on Fox and Friends. We have bacon. I can smell it. I'm going to eat it. And if you want it, you should wake up and make some bacon and join it, have it with us as well, because mornings are better with bacon and with these guys.
About their New Year's resolution.
All people that are cooler than us.
Isn't there
Exactly.
people on? But there's huge conflict here, isn't there?
What is it?
We're just going to be piling on the bacon as we talk about New Year's resolutions.
No, you do.
I mean, come on.
You pile it all in
doesn't have to lose
2016
weight,
and then you improve in 2017.
Yeah.
So do it now while you
Just
can.
a little bacon now.
Have you guys figured out your New Year's resolutions yet?
No, I'm not doing it.
We're going to work on it.
Well, before the end of the show, we've got to figure it out.
Oh, are we? Yeah, send us your New Year's
Less
Send
resolutions,
us yours.
please.
Help us out because we haven't decided yet.
All right, turns out we actually have news to cover today, too. There's a Fox News alert. Russia retaliating after being slammed with new sanctions for alleged election hacking.
Yeah, and a furious Vladimir Putin announcing sanctions of his own in a swift revenge against the Obama administration.
Let's get right to Garrett Tenney. He's live in Washington with the breaking details. Good morning, Garrett.
Good morning, Ed, Pete, and Abby. Russia had promised that they would retaliate against any sanctions from the U.S. and less than 24 hours later, it appears they have done just that. Reuters news agency is reporting that Russia has announced plans to expel 35 U.S. diplomats and ban U.S. diplomatic staff from using 2 buildings in Moscow. That comes in response to a long list of sanctions the White House announced yesterday, including plans to shut down 2 compounds in Maryland and New York that have been used by Russian personnel for intelligence purposes, and declaring 35 Russian intelligence operatives persona non grata and giving them 72 hours to leave the country. With that announcement, President Obama said the U.S. may take additional steps against Moscow as well. His statement reads in part, "These actions are not the sum total of our response to Russia's aggressive activities. We will continue to take a variety of actions at a time and place of our choosing, some of which will not be publicized." Russian officials widely mocked the president's announcement, including Russia's UK embassy, which tweeted, "President Obama expels Russian 35 diplomats in Cold War deja vu, as everybody, including American people, will be glad to see the last of this hapless administration. Lame duck." As for the incoming president-elect, Donald Trump, who has long questioned the intelligence community's findings of Russian interference surrounding the election, said in a statement, "It's time for our country to move on to bigger and better things. Nevertheless, in the interest of our country and its great people, I will meet with leaders of the intelligence community next week in order to be updated on the facts of this situation." And of course, the big question with these sanctions is, what will President-elect Trump decide to do? Well, last night, incoming White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus said that they will wait until they have met with the intelligence community and gotten that information before making a decision on how they will go forward. Back to y'all.
All right. Thank you, Garrett.
Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it, Garrett.
As Pete was saying, serious intellectual thinkers are rolling over in their grave this morning when you see this tweet of a lame duck. I mean, is this really how we're doing diplomacy?
It's modern diplomacy. But I think what's important to clarify here is, yes, we're looking into, no one wants or believes that there should be foreign interference in our elections. But let's be clear up front. The election itself was not hacked.
According
the
to who?
Vote count was not hacked.
According to who?
According to President Obama.
Exactly.
According to this administration.
Even President Obama has said
Not
that.
a single vote was affected by what Russia did in its actual implementation. Yeah. Now, were they trying to tamper with our process and our legitimacy? Yes, and that's unfortunate.
Well,
the timing's significant.
The timing is, because that's the big question, is why are they coming out now with just 3 weeks left in his presidency?
Yeah.
Here's what Eric Schultz, the White House Deputy Press Secretary, said about that yesterday.
The president is leaving office in a couple weeks, but he's the president from now until then. And the president-elect, once he assumes office on January 20th, will be in a position to make these sorts of decisions. Our bottom line is that what Russia has been engaged in over the last few months and years is unacceptable. It's outside the norms of diplomatic behavior, and the president is sending a message today to tell them to cut it out. And that's why he ordered aggressive actions.
Well, a couple things. Cut it out. I mean, that doesn't sound.
Cut it out,
hey,
didn't work.
Vlad, cut it out. But Eric Schultz, good person, know him, have worked with him a lot at the White House, and I think what he's trying to say is, yes, they're pushing back now. They're trying to get aggressive, but when we're talking about timing, this hacking situation started some 18 months ago, summer of 2015, roughly. It continued beyond that. But why didn't they do anything sooner if this was such an imperative? Part of it, the White House says, is, look, they didn't want to interfere in the election. They didn't want to pour gasoline on the fire. But if this was going on and it was so awful, so horrible, we needed to, teach Vladimir Putin a lesson. Why did we wait until the final 3 weeks? When you put this together with another story, the Israel resolution story, it looks like a president in the last 3 weeks is not taking bold action, but is trying to salvage a legacy here.
Well, and doing the opposite instead. I mean, he's looking political and not salvaging a legacy, just doubling down on a legacy that hasn't been effective. And Kellyanne Conway does a very nice job usually articulating these types of things. Was on last night talking about, well, why would this be happening? Is this have anything to do with politics? She was on Hannity last night. This is what Kellyanne Conway said.
I was really disappointed to read in David Sanger's New York Times piece this evening the allegation or the supposition that perhaps one reason that these sanctions are taking place is to, quote, box in President-elect Trump, forcing him to take a position or otherwise once he takes office. I hope that this isn't motivated by politics even a little bit. I would say it's just remarkable to me that we're talking about sanctions against Russia just days after I would call sanctions against Israel. So I think just in the last couple of days you see this flurry of activity by a tough President Obama as he exits office, and I guess is burnishing those last couple of moments, semicolons worth of his legacy. But at the same time, the new president will have an opportunity to re-examine our relationships geopolitically.
Yeah, I think the
semicolon of a legacy.
I like
right,
that. Yeah,
and I think she's spot on there. There are two big questions here: why now, and how political was this move? And you brought this up, Ed, when the resolution came forward at the UN last week. You said, would this have happened if Hillary Clinton were the incoming president? I do wonder that same thing in this scenario.
Sure, because you're leaving a mess for Donald Trump, and you're exacerbating some of the mess as well. You say by taking on an ally like Israel.
You're also continuing to attempt to delegitimize. I don't know if you can zoom in on this on the headline. The headline of the New York Times, U.S. punishes Russia over election hacking. I also did label it properly as the failing New York Times.
I was wondering, did that come in
I added that on top. Yeah, but over election hacking, there was no election hacking. So when you try to...
There was hacking of emails. There was
hacking of DNC,
like
no one's saying there wasn't manipulation outside of it. The result itself was not hacked. So we should be very clear about that. But also,
in fairness to President Obama, he was way ahead of the curve on Russia, wasn't he? Wasn't he saying it was our biggest geopolitical... Oh, wait. No, it was the other guy. Watch.
Russia, I indicated, is a geopolitical foe. Not a, number one. Excuse me. It's a geopolitical foe, and I said in the same paragraph, I said, and Iran is the greatest national security threat we face.
In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back because the Cold War has been over for 20 years.
This was a really strong moment for Mitt Romney back in that day, but you look back on that, and here you have President Obama trying to get tough on Russia, and you have to wonder, with these sanctions, we've been here before, haven't we?
Sure.
A few years ago with the Crimea and all that.
And we didn't do anything.
What did that do?
Right, well, so the 80s want their foreign policy back, and you underestimated just how big of a deal Russia and Vladimir Putin turned out to be. And at the time in that debate, isn't it also interesting that President Obama appeared to be like, hey, give Vlad a chance here.
Yes, yeah.
Like, we can work together. And now you flip it around. They're saying Donald Trump is too close to Vlad. Well, and Putin is a bad guy. Well, wait, in 2012 in that debate, you said we were going to all be friends.
Exactly right. And they annex Crimea. They cross red lines and support the Bashar al-Assad regime. We do nothing. Now what we do instead is, for this election violation, is we expel 35 spies from the U.S. and close down 2 compounds. I mean, it's a slap on the wrist diplomatically. It's the type of thing we would have done in the Cold War. Happened all the time. Now this is a big decisive action. No, it's nothing.
It's like fixing a broken arm with a Band-Aid. And you think about expelling these diplomats. What is that actually going to do at the end of the day? Yeah. Why not hit on his inner circle? Where is he going to get hit the hardest? Right? Isn't that the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And these compounds that we're going after, they're sort of mysterious. There's one in Maryland, just outside D.C. You can see it there. I think it's about an hour and a half outside D.C. on the eastern shore of Maryland. Very beautiful area. I've been there many times. I've never been to that compound, I can assure you.
Well, apparently they've got great parties there.
They
have brought in Americans, made them feel at home, served them vodka. It's like
one of the
one
Russian
big party.
women involved says, we go there because we want to be secret and we want to. What is happening?
I just love when do we call things compounds versus houses? You know, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Also, it's been in place there. How long has that house been there, filled with
I think it's
Russians?
the late 60s, early 70s, somewhere in that range.
So why are we? That is why are we doing something about this now? What is that ultimately? What impact is that going to have on our relationship with Russia?
None.
Yeah.
I mean,
At the end of the day.
negligible, because they're going to retaliate, as they've said, and do the same thing to us, kick out 35 of our spies, CIA agents, or under diplomatic cover, and shut down 2 of our compounds. So it's a tit for tat with no actual consequence. And here we are with Russia still running the table and doing what they want.
Out the door.
It'd be really interesting to go in that compound now, though, just to kind of see how they left it.
I feel like there's like a machine gun range in the basement or something. Yeah.
It's like a summer rental where at the end there's now
it could become a summer rental.
You know?
Yeah, up the rent.
Yeah, we
the
do.
Eastern Shore is a beautiful area. I bet you'll flip it around now. You know,
All right,
might help cut the deficit a little bit.
We do have some other headlines this morning. Let's toss over to Jillian Turner this morning. Good to see you, Jillian.
Good to see you. You guys should get that puppy up on Airbnb.
That's a great point. How much do you think it go
make
for?
a killing.
I think you're right.
All right, here's some headlines for you. This is a Fox News alert. A Texas police officer shot during a routine traffic stop. Shots ringing out across a parking lot as Officer Chris Bumpus tried to arrest a man with an outstanding warrant outside Fort Worth. Both the officer and the suspect were hurt and rushed to the hospital. Bumpus is now out of surgery, thankfully, and in stable condition. The Navy veteran was recently just named Rookie of the Year. Good for him. And developing right now, unprecedented security in place as the world prepares to usher in 2017. ISIS warning about brand new attacks. It's a live look at Times Square, where you can see trucks are blocking the streets filled with sand-filled trucks to protect nearly 2 million people planning to ring in the new year right around the corner. 7,000 officers are going to patrol these crowds, and helicopters will keep watch from overhead. Right now, there are no credible threats against Times Square on this New Year's Eve. Now to extreme weather. A major winter storm slamming parts of the Northeast at this hour. Heavy snow and whipping winds making for a dangerous morning commute. More than a foot of snow falling. In Maine, a car you can see right there rolling onto its side over the slick roads. But the good news, much of this mess is moving out just in time for New Year's Eve. Those are your headlines.
That's good news.
All right, thank you, Jillian.
Thanks,
Times
Jillian.
Square looks so vacant right now. It's going to be crazy.
I'm sure we'll have a few live shots there. All right. Well, the Obama administration is rushing to resettle refugees during their last days in office. Was this another attempt to hurt and complicate things for the incoming administration? We're going to ask Congressman Louis Gohmert when he joins us live. There he is next.
And Hollywood A-listers boycotting President-elect Trump's inauguration based on so-called principles. But where were those same principles when they performed for despots and dictators? They don't want to talk about that, do they? We're back with the Fox News alert. Tension growing between the U.S. and Russia, already at an all-time high following President Obama's decision to impose sanctions on that country. Some members of the president's own party speaking out, though, saying the sanctions should be tougher. Congressman Adam Schiff saying, quote, we must evaluate the success of our response using only one critical metric. Has it dissuaded Russia from further interference and bad conduct? And I believe that other more punitive measures will need to be undertaken. That from a Democrat.
Wow, joining us now to weigh in, Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert. Good morning to you.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.
So a big news day this morning. First off the top, just your reaction to President Obama's actions yesterday.
Well, if you're really going to punish somebody, what he did is not all that much of a punishment. I was hosting for Sean Hannity yesterday, and Mike from Ohio called in and said, this is really not a punishment because these 35 Russian expelled diplomats just choose the sanctuary city they want to go to and go there. You don't have to leave. Just go to a sanctuary city. They'll protect you. You know, Chicago, San Francisco, they promised, you know. So it's not so bad. No, it's not really punishment.
Why now? I mean, why now? So many things, so many violations, so many things Russia has done over the last, under this administration. Now this and this action.
Well, we saw these kind of actions when we were each in middle school. You know, when somebody got their feelings hurt, what did they do? They tried to slap back. But if you look at what this president done, 2012, I know you remembered, you reported on it, Ed, but the president said, tell Vladimir, I'll have a lot more flexibility.
Sure.
So when he was willing to sell out the country and Vladimir didn't take him up on his offer, then it was a slapback, just like in middle school. But if you look at what the president's doing at the same time with immigrants, I immediately thought of Batman Begins. Isn't that the one with Liam Neeson? And what do you do if you want to destroy the big city? Well, first they let the criminals go. What's the president doing? He's letting as many criminals as he can go. And then you bring in outsiders to help destroy what's left. And this president, he's been told by ISIS, we're going to get terrorists in with the refugees. And he says, great, let's bring them on. We're going to have them all here for Trump.
Who is Donald Trump in all this? Is he the superhero in your thing?
I see Trump as the guy that comes sweeping in with the medicine that saves the city. So
how does he do that, though? When you're dealing with Vladimir Putin, when you're dealing with Russia, every president coming in has had the opportunity to press the reset button. Trump will have that same opportunity. Yeah. What does he do to get it right?
Well, the thing I think that Trump has going for him as a student of history, majoring in history, keep studying, and I told Donald Trump this back in September, we were talking privately, that you look at the presidents that did best with foreign policy, they were presidents that were perceived as being a little bit crazy. Teddy Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan. I said, remember when Reagan was portrayed in Saturday Night Live walking around, where's the red button? I'm ready to launch missiles. Well, this is Trump. I said, you've got a chance. He said, they say I'm crazy. Sure, I said, that's why you will be great at foreign relations.
Real quick, you came in as well to talk about this sharp increase in refugees coming into this country. How do you make sure that they're actually vetted and that they don't that they're not terrorists or don't,
you take the testimony of Comey and those that have testified before our committee on this issue. They have said, yes, they will vet them, but they have absolutely no information with which to vet them. Yeah. There is no way to know. Comey said, when they came from Iraq, we had all of Iraq's governmental records we could check against.
Sure.
From Syria, from these other places, we got nothing. We have zero. We have nothing to check their records
against. Right now,
the
default is to let in as opposed to do further
scrutiny. Yeah. And so, he should be the president should be in the position of a doctor. First, do no harm, and this president's doing harm as he goes out. It's a mess.
Congressman Louie Gohmert, appreciate you coming in. Happy
it's so great to be with you. You guys are doing great. Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, Hollywood A-listers boycotting President-elect Trump's inauguration based on so-called principles, but where were those principles when they performed for dictators and despots around the world?
And in the good old days, you used to have to wine and dine them to win a lady's heart, right? But now, not only is chivalry dead, but so is the dinner date.
Really?
For millennials, that's what they're saying. We're going to look into it.
But they like to go to Chick-fil-A, they say.
That's the date, apparently. Welcome back. Now some quick headlines. The parole hearing for a notorious Manson cult killer has just been pushed back. The court says it needs time to investigate brand new information that reportedly involves allegations Patricia Krenwinkel was abused by Charles Manson or someone else. Krenwinkel was found guilty of helping Manson murder 7 people nearly 5 decades ago. And Drexel University is defending its professor who tweeted, quote, "All I want for Christmas is white genocide." In a statement, the school says it supports the rights of its faculty members to freely express their opinions, calling the professor's tweet protected speech. I guess they protect that, but not other forms. Ed, over to you.
Yes, there's the First Amendment with that one. Wow. Many celebrities have proudly announced they want nothing to do with President-elect Donald Trump's swearing-in celebrations, something he says he simply doesn't care about.
Yeah, he has. In a recent tweet, Mr. Trump said the so-called A-list celebrities are all wanting tickets to the inauguration, but look what they did for Hillary. Nothing. I want the people.
But as these stars boycott Mr. Trump, there's no shortage of stars who have performed for thugs, dictators, yet with little outrage.
Yeah, here to weigh in is author of Con Job and editor of ConservativeBlackChick.com, Crystal Wright. Crystal, good morning to you.
Good morning, Abby.
Good to see you. So let's just show you a list of celebrities who have thus far declined to perform at the inauguration of Elton John, Celine Dion, Garth Brooks, Gene Simmons, Andrea Bocelli. The list goes on. No surprise here, really, right? I mean, also, as we just mentioned, President-elect Trump says, I could care less about this.
No, liberal Hollywood was in the tank for Hillary Clinton, remember? I mean, you had Lena Dunham, the list goes on and on. So it's no surprise that these guys say, oh, you know, we're not going to perform for Trump. We're not going to put country first, right? That's what liberal Hollywood stars do. But, as you pointed out in the tease before we started talking, a lot of celebrities don't have any moral high ground or ethics when it comes to making money and performing for Libyan dictator Gaddafi, Beyonce, Usher. They were really happy to perform for Gaddafi.
You're right. We have that list, Crystal. Look at this. They performed Gaddafi, Beyonce, Usher, Mariah Carey, Lionel Richie, Nelly Furtado, and 50 Cent as well. How about that? They don't have a problem with that. Performers for Angola President Jose Eduardo dos Santos. They haven't been involved in this Trump deal, but they did perform for him, Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey. And so, Crystal, what message do you take that from? They're willing to take the money from dictators. But people are outraged about the possibility of performing for a Republican president.
Right. The message here is that celebrities like Beyonce and Usher are utter hypocrites. They have no moral high ground and no ethics, and nothing says that you hate America and your country more than refusing to perform for the next president, right? What happened to the peaceful transition of power that Hillary Clinton lauded? Remember that? She kept ribbing Donald Trump, but it's because, by the way, speaking of Beyonce, who loves performing for Gaddafi and despots, she performed for President Barack Obama's, I think, one of his inaugural, maybe it was the second one.
2013,
right, right. So, okay, but Trump is a white Republican, so of course, oh no, you can't perform for him. And we all know, guys, that if the roles were reversed, these same liberal celebrities would be calling their peers racist for not performing if it was Obama and it was happening, right? If celebrities were daring to boycott the first black president, oh, you guys are a bunch of racists, but it's okay to boycott the white Republican dude, right? Coming in.
You know what? I think he should just get members of our military, so many talented individuals to get up on the stage and perform. I mean, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, and that's what his campaign was about from day one. So we'll see.
I've nominated Abby Huntsman, by the way. Crystal, I don't know if you've heard her voice, but we might get her by the end of this show to do it as like just a New Year's surprise. I'm not joking. She's got a great voice.
I'm ready, Abby. I want to hear it.
Oh, Crystal, I don't think that's ever going to happen. It's good to see you this morning.
Thanks,
Have a good New Year.
And Gene Simmons of KISS will join us on the program next hour. We'll ask him about this as well.
Yeah, that'll be great. So the ultimate disrespect for our nation's cops, this painting depicting police officers as pigs, this is now hanging inside our nation's Capitol. And who approved that is the question. We've got it up next.
And it's not an official national holiday, but it should be. I'm telling you, it's National Bacon Day. Up next, a special Fox and Friends Bacon Taste Test. That might be why Pete's not here right now. He ran out there. Where are the judges?
That is hilarious. But first, happy birthday to LeBron James. He is 32 years old today. Happy birthday, LeBron.